When I was a kid, there was an expression that our parents and coaches and teachers and adults used when, if we ever worked up the nerve to ask why we had to do something. And the expression was because I said so. And for us, that was a legitimate answer, right? There was no offense taken. In fact, we were so used to that response that often we would see it as a, as a suggestion. Hey, you better apologize for asking me why. And so, invariably we would go, oh yeah, sorry for asking. Well, things have changed, right? Obviously, and thankfully so, right? Yeah, that's just no way to build a relationship between a coach, between an employee and a boss or manager, between a teacher and student, coach athlete. I mean, parent child. It's archaic in so many ways. And more importantly, for me anyhow, as a coach, it's limited. And this is why, because we are wired to want to hold the wheel, right? We want to steer our ship. And when we get told to do something, I mean, just ask yourself, right? How often, how often do you like going into a meeting and being told what to do? Right? It doesn't land for us. We like to be in charge. It's a natural instinct. And so when the millennials came along, love them or hate them, they're the ones who pushed back and said, look, I want to know why. And I want to know what's in it for me, what's in it for the team, what's in it for the company, right? Like, why are you asking me? I want to be part of the decision making here. And what that's done is that, or how it plays out, perhaps, how about that, is that when we invite people to be part of the decision making, to be a creative problem solver at the table, they feel empowered, right? Just think about it. Whenever you come up with your own next steps, you tend to do them because you said you would, as opposed to somebody telling you what to do, right? I mean, sure, you'll do them sometimes or all the time, but it has a different energy, right? It's got a different fuel. We often do things because we're told, because we don't want to be shamed or embarrassed for not doing it. But when we do things because we said we would, there's a different fuel there. It's because we've taken ownership. It's because we've had a say in it. And that's a powerful fuel. And so, initially the coaches, especially in sport, they thought, oh, these entitled, spoiled little brats, right? The accountability's gone out the door, right? We're no longer in charge. Well, it was all for naught, because what we find now is that coaches work with their athletes, or employees managers or bosses work with their employees. And when you do that, like I said, you elicit a different kind of fuel. You elicit an intrinsic fuel, right? People show up at their best because they've said they would do it, not because they have to. And I discovered that as a coach. When I was coaching late 80s, early 90s, I was a because I said so kind of coach, right? I mean, it's how I was coached. And so it's, that's the tool I pulled out. 10 years later, when I started coaching early 2000s, it changed, right? It just changed. I started inviting the athletes to the table as problem solvers, right? As people, I started explaining workouts to them, not because they asked, but because I wanted them to know why we were doing stuff. Our coach never told. In fact, we didn't find out what the workout was until we got on the water and finished our warm-up. I wanted the athletes that I was working with to know what was coming and to know why it was coming, to be part of the discussion around coming up with race plans. I wanted them to feel empowered, to feel a part of the team, not just on the receiving end of do this because I said so. So limiting. And I mean, hell, I wish I had been coached that way. I'm sure I would have had a longer career, and I'm sure I would have enjoyed the sport more than I did. And it's just a limited way. So if you're a coach, if you're a manager, teacher, I mean, my guess is you've probably already adapted, because if you were a coach or a sports coach, you probably would have lost your job. But and if you're a boss and you still use those tools, people probably, they just leave. They just go find another place to work. But if you are still doing that, you might want to change. But the point I want to make is to not just do it because that's kind of what you have to now, but to use it as a strategy. To not just explain what you're doing to them, but really get in there and ask for opinions, ask for what they're thinking, ask for their reflections and feedback. It's just, it invites a higher level of engagement and commitment, and a higher level of accountability for sure. And I've seen it. So something to consider. Okay, I'm going to finish off our run here. Here are the pups. We've had a great first hour. We're just on our way home. So enjoy your evening, enjoy the rest of your week, and yeah, we'll talk to you again next week. Okay, bye everybody.